I don't know how drama you want to go tonight with your situation, or if you just want to avoid it.
Here's kind of the way I look at all this. If you do your thing, and if I feel like I want to jump in, I will.
Okay.
I'm still trying to be respectful, despite the fact that it seems like respectability isn't popular these days. Hang on, I'm going to try to log into the YouTube chat from here. I don't know why I'm not.
And he's gone. Hey, we had a good run. I'll bring him back when he comes back. He's probably just going to log in, but
do what they've got going in wokeism, that they might be able to just discredit our entire movement. It's very, very sad. And like I said, the guy's, I don't think he's malicious. I just think he's like not a very intelligent person.
Is he talking about me or McDizzle right now? Because I think he's talking about me, which is just really wild. When
I tried to explain stuff about Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 and what we got with our historical information, we got it from actual Latin documents that came.
All right, he's back.
All right, I think I'm in here now.
Yeah. Can you see it now?
Yep, I got you.
All right. So you said you're just going to let me go and you're going to add in.
Yeah. So
what were you going to say, though?
So basically, like, just watching this kind of crap is getting frustrating because I understand everybody has an angle, right? I don't fault anybody. Like, I get it. There are ways people monetize their presence, whether it's on Twitter, whether it's through YouTube, whether it's through, rage bait or clickbait or whatever. Everybody's got a grift. Everyone's got an angle, right? That's just kind of the reality of what the internet has turned into.
But can I interrupt real quick and just say,
sure.
When you take the angle of being disingenuous, it's when it really irks me.
Oh, no. Dishonesty is never respectable. Don't get me wrong. Like, I have no use for that. That's why I've never tried to run with a video or a story that I thought was in any way potentially misleading or deliberately false. That's the thing. It's like, I'd rather be careful and not put out the most sensational video than run with something that I thought is legitimately not going to be true. So
that's a great approach. That's a really great approach, which is why I introduced you, saying that you're going to be massive on this platform someday.
I don't know, dude. I think I killed myself I shouldn't say killed myself because YouTube will be mad about that. I think my channel,
Minecraft.
Yeah, Minecraft. My channel got hit right around 10,000 subs around the election, and basically like everything just kind of like came to a grinding halt. And then this whole Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 thing happened, where I refused to go, the game is woke because 2 or 3 things in a 100+ hour game. And I lost like 40 subs, man. I lost like 50 subs overnight. And it's like, look, you can criticize the legitimate problems with the game, of which it has many. It's a fantastic game. I'd say so far I'm like 10, 12 hours in. It's like a 9 out of 10 for me so far. I've heard people, the people out of respect who have played it say the game's amazing. However, the Muslim character just doesn't fit. Or the Hans romance thing is just shipping and it sucks, right? I can respect that opinion. Those are legitimate criticisms. But people saw one black guy and screamed DEI, right? And I'm not going to agree with that. I'm just not. That doesn't make me woke. I think we need to remember what the meaning of woke is. Woke is a political agenda being driven by this belief that it's either racial or financial differences that are going to define us, and that's the vehicle that they use to push an agenda. That's woke. That's Marxism. It has nothing to do with a gay character in a game.
100%. And I feel like the game itself was so divisive when it came out, and people had such strong opinions that years of relationships were built up and destroyed over that game. And it's just wild to me how a single game in the grand scheme can erode relationships like that did. That was wild.
Well, it's just, it drives me crazy. It's like, there's enough things to complain about. I see the chat saying, but it's DEI, it's being pushed in there for an agenda. Okay, sure. And you know what? I get that. People are going to have that opinion. I can't define for you what you're going to think woke is. Yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff with the character. I'm not at that point in the game yet, but like I said, people whose opinion I respect said, this character just doesn't fit. Now,
I think, just to interject, what I learned from my first video on it to my second video on it is the community is clearly torn on the situation, and people have their stances firm that I've never seen before on any game ever. And I think what it comes down to is there's some people on our side that are saying, yes, I'll believe it's DEI if there's some sort of evidence that comes out after the fact that proves that. And then there are people who are saying, I just believe it's DEI, and I assume there's evidence there that has been found. And even though I haven't seen it, there's enough in this right now that justifies the I bet it's there, but we just can't find it. And honestly, I can see both perspectives. I'm not trying to like play the fence here on it, but I'm like, I get where people are coming.
Sometimes it's not fence sitting. Sometimes it's legitimately, like I've said for a while, it's okay to not know how you feel about something for a long time. It's okay to take time to think about things. Yep. I don't think that's necessarily fence sitting.
It's true. It's true. But anyway, back to this JDA situation. Did you have any thoughts on it? I don't want to like put you on the like spot right now.
Well, no, for me personally, the situation I have, and this is why I don't.
Before you even say anything, sorry, sure. to let the chat know who you are, because some people might not know. Could you let people know like your relationship and stuff like that?
Sure. So I met John through just interactions online, and I kind of got to know his YouTube channel, and we started communicating. And I joined his Discord. He was looking for writers, and at that point, I hadn't really done much with my channel yet. This was all before Gamergate 2 happened, right? So this was back in like February of last year, and I just started writing some articles for him, and got into where I was getting decent at it. And then the whole Gamergate 2 thing blew up, and then my channel started getting views, and it got harder to have time to actually, spend more time writing articles and less time making videos. So at that point, he decided to switch Fandom Pulse from the website to Substack because it was better for all the obvious reasons. Google, I did this article on Keffels. I don't know if you're familiar with Keffels, right? That person.
Yes.
That one got a lot of views. John had an article that did a lot of views. Trent at that point was not writing for Fandom Pulse yet. But we had some articles. We had some days we had like 8 articles out a day, and they were all different types of topics. But at that point, Google throttled the algorithm to where the website got no views at all. Somebody did an article that Google didn't like. Somebody didn't like it, and we got like completely flatlined. And so at that point, he decided we can't do an ad revenue model, so he went to Substack. And shortly after starting the Substack, I started writing again once in a while. And then, of course, Trent came over full-time, which I thought was cool. I was like, all right, I don't know the situation behind the scenes, but I thought that was cool. Yeah. At that point, I still write articles on my website once in a while, but it's when I have time, I don't have a whole lot of time right now.
Right.
And so really what happened was John's like, hey, or JDA, I should say, because there's John Trent and then John Del Rose.
Right.
JDA messaged me. He's like, hey, do you think you still want to do some articles? I'm like, look, we can double up. I can put it on my website and give it to you guys like a day ahead of time. If you want to do it like a paid article on your website or on Substack, I had no idea how they decide which ones are the ones that are paywalled and which ones are not. I don't really care how they do that. That's whatever.
Yeah.
But at that point is kind of like, when you start seeing behind the scenes and you start realizing it's not always about authenticity, it's more about pushing a certain set of beliefs. And it's like, well, what happens when you're the guy who doesn't fit in anymore? What happens when you're the guy that deviates from the groupthink, which is where I've kind of found myself. And I'm sure, like I saw the chat, most people here disagree with me on my opinion on the game. And like I said, when I finish the game, my opinion might change as well.
But at least you're giving it a shot to figure it out for yourself instead of just hearing what people say about it.
It was the same thing with Doom the Dark Ages when people saw that one clip of that woman who actually looks fine.
Which, by the way, that was another article pushed by Fandom Pulse.
Right.
Was that John F. Trent or
that was Yorch? That was Yorch Torch. That was his first article with them. So
yeah, which was when I saw that, and then I'm pairing that with JDA here saying we don't push gossip. And
right. So here's my main issue. The fact of the matter is, I play video games when I can. I'm a grown adult person, right? I've got 3 kids. I have a full-time job. I told you I'm taking over my family's business. I just have to get that shit figured out this year. I've got a lot going on.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, I still enjoy video games to the point where I still play them. I stream them. I'm supposed to be streaming them right now, but I'm like, I didn't feel like it tonight. I'm like, screw it. I'm just not doing it.
I got you.
Yeah. So long story short, it's like, I still want to be aware of what's going on in video games. I still play games with my kids. They were playing with their friends during the sleepover. It's like, it's a big thing at our house: guns, video games, and building computers. Those are the three things I like, you know?
Yep.
So that being said, when you're working with people or collaborating with people and you get the impression, or you start to realize they don't really even understand the medium that they're covering, because John Del Rosa said, you know, I only play Mario Kart. I mean, that was a real tweet, right?
I mean, he's had some interesting tweets in his history.
So with, I don't personally want to get into like all of his backstory, because enough people have.
Oh, I wasn't referring to the furry stuff either.
No, I know that's it. I don't have no interest in touching any of that. I just don't care.
Right.
But no, for me, what the epiphany I had about a couple weeks ago is when I was talking with John Trent and John Del Rose in a public Twitter conversation. You can go back and see it.
Mhm.
And the conversation of censorship came up and the meaning of censorship. And it's like when I realized that we no longer could even agree on the meaning of words, that
That's a
our
problem.
paths were just kind of like going in two different directions. And that's where I'm just kind of like, okay, I'm not going to go out and trash the guy. I'm not going to go out and attack his channel and make him, you know, say he's going to be canceled or some shit like that.
But you notice how they operate is by almost, I don't want to say bullying you into a thought, but by ganging up and being like, hey, this is actually what it is. You need to think this way.
Well, I know the one thing I will say is there's been no pressure put on me to do that. I think
I don't mean direct pressure.
Okay, sure. For a while, John Trent would respond to some of my tweets and I just ignored it.
Right.
So I just got to the point where when this whole thing about Henry being 15 came up, and I asked Daniel Vavra, I asked him in many tweets, I'm like, dude, we need some clarification on this. You can see in the codex from the first game, it clearly states 1388. So that's a concern. The game's in 1403. That's 15 years old. I understand that there's two sides to the argument. There's the objective, medieval times were different. People got married at a much younger age. Fine. I can accept that. I don't like it. I think it's gross, but I don't condemn people for a different time in a different place.
Right.
However, I don't want to see it in a video game.
Right.
So
But
when you
by
play the game,
the way, though, that's the point on that before you move on to it. That was the argument I made the other day when this came up, where I'm like, they're literally, if you read their article on Fandom Pulse, they're saying we need to get this game canceled at the end. I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but that was
right. No, there were people who were saying report the game to Steam. I'm like, I pointed out, because I wrote an article on it after Vavra responded. I'm like, here's the thing, guys. The game is set in a time where it's loosely based on historical events and people. In real life, we don't know when the guy was born. It's 1388 with a question mark. They don't know his actual age. The actors are adults and they're portrayed as adults in the game because there's no children in the game.
But why would any gamers want to support a site that is trying to push for censorship in the medium that we're trying to avoid censorship in?
Because here's the thing, people are. I'm not going to go out and say there are some YouTubers, like I saw Upper Echelon Gamers come out and tell people they were straight up idiots if they're trying to cancel the game, right? I'm like, I'm not going to call anybody an idiot. I will.
Well, I'll say if you're trying to cancel the game, you're an idiot. I'll join him on that.
I'll say if you're trying to cancel a game over a disagreement about the game itself, then sure, that's idiotic. But if you're looking at it going, I don't like the game, therefore the game shouldn't exist, I disagree with that. I don't.
Which is what it feels like, by the way. They might not be outright saying that, but that's the vibe that I've been getting from their approach with this. Where
and so
it's almost like a personal vendetta because Vavra was roasting JDA so bad that now JDA is trying to get him back by getting the game banned. And it's the same situation with how I roasted JDA the other night. Now he has a personal vendetta against me, and he's letting himself expose himself as to being disingenuous with people because he's prioritizing a personal vendetta against someone instead of the truth.
Yeah. So no, honestly, that's what happens when you criticize somebody, when you roast somebody. Like if I go after somebody who I think is some ideologue in the games industry, and I told you I got that privacy complaint, right? So Danny Pena, this big insider with Paris and Khalif Adams and all these guys, right? He tried to privacy complaint a video of mine where I was talking about him and his wife's public DEI consulting company. That's what they do. They have a company where she is a diversity, equity, and inclusion expert, and they push this shit into entertainment, social media, gaming, whatever.
And they tried to take your video down.
They tried to take my video down because I showed their website, a public website. Their full profiles on Twitter, public name, no private information at all. So, yeah, I mean, that's not exactly the same response as I roasted you, so you're going to roast me now. That's a little bit different. That's more, I'd say, extreme. But when
Right.
you criticize people, you open yourself up to criticism from them, unfortunately.
Mhm.
So it's just kind of the way it goes.
Right. Which was kind of full circle with what happened yesterday with McDizzle. And he was like crying afterwards when he's like, oh, I got doxxed. I got doxxed. I'm like, no, first off, you didn't get doxxed. It was public information of who you are with your literal channel name as your LinkedIn profile picture.
I was going to ask you about that too, because I don't know. I was on the fence about whether or not that was a dox. What was the actual situation? How did you get that information connected to McDizzle? Because to me, it almost kind of felt like a dox.
It was his public facing profile with McDizzle Gaming as the picture of it.
So when you search McDizzle Gaming, that's the profile that popped up?
That is someone I trust sent it to me and confirmed it was him.
Okay.
So that's what I went with. I'm like, okay, it's public facing. This is it. Cool. See,
to me, I almost was wondering if it was a dox, which again, you can make arguments, I guess, for or against whether it's a dox.
I don't even think you can. Using someone's public name is not a dox if it's out there publicly.
Okay. But even if it's, let's go with the worst argument. Let's say it is a dox, right?
Okay.
If it was like 4D chess on your part, because now today, like you said, he didn't respond because in order to respond, he'd have to admit, look, this guy doxed me it's when I was actually attempting to impersonate somebody else, which was a crime to get him. So it was, I mean, even if it's not a dox, it's definitely kind of like 4D chess.
Well, yeah, I guess you could take that perspective. I think the other thing is he admitted last night, I don't know if you saw, but he tweeted out that he's like, actually, I've been thinking about this and I didn't get doxxed. It's not a dox to use my public name out there. And he was like apologizing for.
See, I didn't even see any of that. I've been out of the loop.
Let me bring it up because it's actually fascinating because after that happened, he didn't make the video and he kind of went silent on the situation. And I almost wonder if he got spooked when people are saying what you did is illegal. Trying to find it here. Hold on.
So I actually Googled this, and there are several different types of it. There's criminal fraud and criminal impersonation, I guess, or identity theft or identity fraud. I mean, it all depends on what you do with the information. But I guess in some situations, even if a crime is not committed, the act of impersonating somebody is still considered a crime if the charges are actually pursued. So,
oh yeah, I'm sure if that Ubisoft employee saw what he did and was pissed, he could pursue charges against him. Right. And be like, what did you just do to my name? Why did you do that? Hold on. Okay, here it is. Upon further reflection and chatting, I don't think Smash JT doxed me, but did share my name and location, which I should have locked down better. Have to own my pieces. We throw around the word doxing too much, to be honest, but it is scummy either way. Scummy.
Well, there you go.
Here's the best part. This motherfucker has the audacity to call me scummy after what he did to me.
Yeah, see, here's the thing. You mentioned Furtanga earlier in the stream. And Furtanga is an interesting guy. I started following him in the last few weeks with all the Razor Fist stuff going on. What is your genuine opinion about Furtanga? Like, just as a person online, as a YouTuber, as a content creator?
I don't trust him. I feel like he has no moral compass. He's the type of person that will just make anything, whatever the direction the wind's blowing. I think his edits are good. He can be comical and funny and interesting. I enjoy parts of some of his videos, and I can overlook parts that are kind of like, what the hell?
Right.
He strikes me, I could be wrong about this, but he strikes me as someone that is heavily on the spectrum. So I kind of give him a little bit more leeway. But at the end of the day, he's somebody that I would probably not want to be associating with.
Sure. I think that's fair. Like, I genuinely agree with a lot of his takes, but a lot like this entire McDizzle thing, what I've discovered and thought about over the last few hours of, talking about this stuff, like you mentioned before, there's one thing to say, hey, Smash is going to get better from this. He's going to learn. He's going to do better investigating. He's going to, authenticate his information better. I don't think that this was an attempt to make you a better person or a better investigator.
No.
So it seems really disingenuous when people who do this kind of stuff say it like that.
Yeah, it came from a place of malice. It had ill intent. It was trying to tear me down. And I don't think there's really a way to learn from this, because this specific situation, I said this on Saturday Night Hypnosis earlier tonight, this specific situation, if this happened again, the only thing I'd do differently would probably like add and waste my viewers' time and add like a 30-second disclosure in the video being like, hey, just so you know, this is the best I could verify the specifics. Here's all this. Here's this. Here's the, and all it does is just waste time and potentially expose a source more, instead of just like, hey, here's the information. Take it with a grain of salt. Now I'm going to be a little bit more cautious of how I say things.
Mm-hmm.
But if this same exact story came through on Monday, and it was as believable and it was as like lined up as much, I would probably make a video and talk about it and say, hey, we got the same exact situation right now. Last time it was fake, so I don't know. This time it's probably going to be fake too, but it strikes me as something that's interesting coming from someone that I could verify. And here's the thing. If it's a very believable story, and what I'm saying is I don't want to stop what I do because somebody was maliciously intending to stop my channel. It's like what I'm doing is exposing things in the industry that I find interesting or problematic that are important to get out there. But I think with a situation like this, I might, if it's a 1-for-1, I want to walk back what I just said. If it's a 1-for-1, I'd probably not go forward with it the next time. But it's really tough. It's really tough because sometimes I get stories that I am able to verify, but timed event stuff, it's a shit show. There's no right answer to this.
It's really hard. People are saying, in the future, I think that guy you talked about, the Latino YouTuber, what's his name? I've got to scroll back up. He got a scoop from somebody, Akalon. Said that every video from sources in the future will be labeled rumor, and that's probably a smart.
Yeah. That's probably what I would do. Yeah, something like that.
To be honest, people are going to say you're clickbaiting though, because all caps rumor is going to get more views than I have a leaker. I think rumors are juicier, so people are going to say you're clickbaiting at that point if you label it a rumor.
Right.
So,
but at the same time, I can't worry about what haters are going to do or say and complain about. It's like, hey, it is what it is.
Sure.
People come to the channel because they want to hear what I have to say. And I'm not going to be like, well, I'm not going to say anything anymore because some jackass fucked it up. I'm like, no, that's
the situation I found myself in. I told you that the whole lead up to Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 was the most mentally exhausted I've ever been over a video game in my entire life.
Mm-hmm.
And it got to be the part, like to the point where I wanted to cover it because there was information coming out about it, but I didn't want to cover it because I'm like, okay, I'm going to piss off half my audience depending on what way the video goes.
Yep.
So if I share my honest thoughts, which is what I always do, even if they're not properly conveyed, I'm going to piss somebody off, which happens half the time. But luckily, I think most people can have a normal civil conversation. You're always going to have those people who are going to react emotionally and be like, oh, no, you said one thing I don't like. Screw you. I'm out of here.
Yep.
So,
but those people are the same ones that will come back next week and keep watching your stuff anyways. So
I guess
they just want, what I've learned is kind of something similar when I was a smaller channel, and even before I was a smaller channel, before I even had a channel. I just wanted to be heard. Like I just wanted, like if I disagreed with a YouTuber, I wanted to be heard. Like if I just wanted, and if I would never be one of those like I'm unsubscribing, fuck you. I would never be one of those people, but I would be like, all right, here's where I disagree with you. Here's why, and go from there. If the person that I subscribe to, like when I subscribe to someone, it's because I genuinely want to listen to what they have to say. Sometimes they change and they go off the deep end, but that's not like on one video. that's like over the course of time where I'm like, yeah, no, this is not the person who I first signed up with. They've changed over time. People, for me personally, people like JDA or Melanie Mack or John F. Trent come to mind when I'm like, oh, I used to really enjoy these channels, and now I feel like they've changed over time. So I don't
see. For me, Melanie Mack, I never enjoyed her videos. And again, I'm like, I whatever, Melanie Mack. I don't follow her on Twitter anymore because she got really annoying. But I
that's my point. She got really annoying. What you just said.
Yeah, I used to like interacting with like on Twitter, but if I tried watching a video, I mean, I've had people tell me my voice is annoying, and it's like I've tried listening to her, and I'm like, I can't. It's like nails on a chalkboard. I just can't.
Yep.
So,
but anyway, back to the Fandom Pulse situation. So, where did you leave off?
I haven't had an official conversation with Trent or JDA at all. Like, to be honest, we've had our little disagreements on Twitter. The conversation basically fell off. John Delarose responded to something that I tweeted about a week ago that was it was sarcastic, right? I put a picture of Azim from Robin Hood Prince of Thieves from 1994 on Twitter. I'm like, you see, this is why we have gay shit in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. It was Azim back in 1994. It's his fault.
Yeah,
I think John Delarose like agreed with it. And I'm like,
that makes no sense.
Like,
no, bro, you can't. That flies in the face of the other things. You can't. You're being a hypocrite right now.
No, so I mean, he's probably stalking your channel, and like I said, I'm not here to talk shit about JDA. So he's probably gonna kick me from our little group chat we have going on, which I haven't responded to anything in weeks. I just don't care.
Wait, say that again. He was.
I said if he sees this and gets mad, he'll probably kick me from our little group chat that we have, because we've got a little group chat on Twitter with people who contribute to Fandom Pulse and all that, and it's like, basically, it's just been him and a few other guys sharing this shit about Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 for the past few weeks. Like, oh, I've got this scoop, I got that scoop. And it's all turned out to be these articles that you've shown that are a bunch of nothing burgers, And it's like, I'm not here to fluff my own ego. I'm not, here to stroke somebody else's ego. If you guys want to do that, that's fine. But I'm over it. I've moved on. I'm beyond over it. I just haven't had an official conversation with either one of them yet.
Do you think that they know?
Oh, I'm sure they know.
Yeah.
John Trent and I used to DM, and we were pretty civil, like pretty chill. When we both fell into the same algorithmic rut when both of our channels were around 10,000 subscribers. And so I'd message him and be like, hey, dude, what's going on? I noticed your channel's not getting any views, and we talked about stuff and very chill, very civil. I still think John Trent deep down is probably a decent guy. I have no problems with him, more ideological than I am, but then again, that's to each their own, whatever.
Right. But to be fair, like I've had the same run-ins, if you will, with them as well. Like I would have conversations with them for a while, and it was just came down to ideological differences.
Right. Now, here's my issue. I was thinking about this when I was watching you watch. I didn't want to hop in while you were watching JDA's video because my blood was already boiling as it was. I'm like, I don't want to go in here.
Let's just real quick. How frustrating was that video to listen to?
So from the get-go, you nailed it. He didn't even frame the situation properly. It was completely dishonest. But what really occurred to me, and this is, like I said, you criticized him, you roasted him, so he's trying to get back at you. Sorry, my camera resets every 30 minutes.
No worries.
And basically, the way I look at it was when Endymion ran with his video a couple of weeks ago from Marco Corrosion, who listened to one troll on Twitter who said, I'm the reason they put the gay stuff in Kingdom Come Deliverance, right? Corrosion fed that to Endymion. Endymion ran with the video, and it turned out to be complete bullshit. JDA and Fandom Pulse didn't write an article about him. They didn't make a video about Endymion. Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah. So again, where's your ethics in journalism? If you're going to attack a big channel, Endymion's a bigger channel than yours. 3
times the size of me.
Yeah. And he ran with legitimately false information. I made a video on it. I did an article on it. Dr. Disaster did the same thing. They both ran with the same information, the same tweet, and nobody called them out on it. McDizzle did. The asshole wokies on the left side called it.
Right, because they jump at that stuff every
But
chance.
nobody on our side actually called anybody out.
That's interesting. So I wonder if it just comes down to he's still spurging about me roasting him the other day. So now it's personal for him right now.
I think it's become personal.
To the point of, would you argue his own detriment or no?
I think Fandom Pulse, just like YouTubers talking about Kingdom Come Deliverance and taking one side or the other, I think Fandom Pulse, unfortunately, to its own detriment, has kind of screwed themselves over, because here was what I noticed, because we all used that Park Place back when John Trent was there, right? And I still use that Park Place. Actually, I think the new editor-in-chief, Montanaro, I think his last name is, he's doing a good job.
He's real good. Yeah, I chat with him a lot. Good dude.
So I think they're still doing good work. But I always noticed when John Trent did articles, half the article would be about the Catholic diocese and this and that. And it's like, okay, well, that's the part I'm going to skip in my video.
Yep.
And it's like, I don't even care. I've been called a heretic by Catholics because I was raised Protestant. I'm not even taking sides here, guys. Be Protestant, be Catholic, be Orthodox. It's all good. Whatever. Don't care. I truly don't care what your personal belief system is as far as that goes. But as far as me, it's like, I'm talking about a video game. I don't need to launch into some diatribe from the Catholic Church or from some bishop who I don't know. So the ideological emphasis was always there. And I've seen people ask, was he forced out of that Park Place? Did he leave? I don't know. I've never asked. I don't want to get into that because I didn't think it was my business.
I do know, but I am not privy to say the situation.
Right. So
I am aware of it.
So that's, again, one of the situations where it's like obviously certain ideologies I do believe are worse than others. In theory. Do I think people trying to trans your kids is worse than somebody being overly religious? Yes, I truly believe that.
I do too.
However, overly religious people can still get to a point where things become dangerous. And that's where you have cults. Okay.
Yep.
So
I'm over here like preach, like everything you're saying, I am 100% on board with. Yes.
But again, by not doing this Deus Vult stuff where I'm ready to go start, some sort of right-wing Christian nationalist movement where we're going to take over and make everyone go to church on Sunday. It's like, look, in theory, would I prefer that we were all a conservative Christian nation? In theory, sure.
Mm-hmm.
That would conform to most of my moral beliefs and my worldview, but I can't force anybody else to believe that, nor would I try to.
Well, they also don't like the fact that I'm accepting of gay people. They find that problematic.
Right. And here's my thing about like the gay characters in games. This is why I've said, yeah, you can tell when a character has been inserted for reasons. And I know a lot of people said that like the gay romance in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 was only inserted because of DEI or woke agenda. I think it's worse than that, to be honest, because I've watched videos recently from the community manager at Warhorse who said, oh no, nobody at Embracer, nobody told us what to do. In fact, I was worried because Daniel Vavra said, I want to put this in the game. And I was like, dude, this is going to piss a lot of people off. Mm-hmm. They had people, the shippers, the fan fiction people, asking Daniel Vavra after the first game came out to make Hans a gay option. So he was like, hey, that could be kind of fun. Let's do that. So I wish it was DEI. I wish it was some investor said, you have to do this or whatever. I truly believe that this man decided it'd be cool to go with the shippers and put this in the game, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But to that extent, I still don't say that a gay character in a game makes a game woke or that it makes it DEI.
But I would argue that it doesn't necessarily make the game better or enhance.
No, I think it makes it worse. I think the gay option sucks in that game.
But I think that's where the problem is, where people are like, okay, if it's not DEI and it's not woke, why is it in there still? Like, I don't want to buy a game.
I hate the option in this context, in this game. I think the option sucks. I think it's stupid. I just am trying to make people like understand my point of view, where I think the choice was bad, but you need to understand the reason the choice was made, not just that the choice exists. And then there were people blaming Embracer, and I did an article on it, I did a video. I'm like, guys, look at all these components, look at all the pieces, what the studio's saying, what Daniel Vavra is saying, look at who the investors are. The thing that makes the most sense is that for whatever reason, this dude decided to make the game have a gay option. And that's basically what they've confirmed at this point, is it was his choice. He made the call and he did it. Now you can criticize him, the studio, and not buy the game if you don't want to play the game, which I 100% support people. If you don't want to buy the game, don't buy the game.